And then when we started hearing that's like, I haven't heard from him in a while. I'm like, of course you didn't. What did you expect? He's so fragile.
Yeah, he's so fragile.
He is. He really is. I mean, a lot of talented people who have been very successful doing television and radio are so like they build, not only do they have a bubble built around them, they build another bubble themselves around them. And it just, you got to learn how to handle people. That's what, the role of an executive producer or a PR rep or any of those kind of positions learn how to handle these people, because you think a normal person will act like this. Well, that's a normal person. A talented, creative, deranged person will act like this. So you have to handle it this way here. And that's what happened. It's like, if he got the slightest, I haven't talked to the guy since, this is a story for another time, but the last day of his show, when he stormed out, he left all these comics in the studio and he just picked up his stuff, walked out, told me to play the old Rage Against the Machine music. He popped into my studio, which was connected, but two different doors, yelled at me, and I'm not going into that, but yelled at me and then slammed the door and walked out. And that was the last I've seen of him.
Interesting.
Right? And it's because of any kind of doubt that gets placed in his head, he automatically thinks the worst. And when you try to reason with him, sometimes he doesn't process it, or he's not susceptible to the fact that you're trying to explain to something on air is different than something off air, which they preach all the time. And then when something happens in reality, some people can't handle it. Would I sit down and talk with him? Yeah, absolutely. There's some things that we need to sort out between me and him, but I don't go attacking him. I don't go publicly trashing him, and going after his show for whatever reason or whatever he's doing. He gave me a great opportunity, and for a while we were good friends and everything. It's just his mind changed and he went in a different direction based on all of this stuff. And what can you do? You just got to move on.
I love how naive Mike Sappho is, though, that he thinks he could just hop on my show, defend the guy, which is what his goal was to come on and be like, hey, it's not so bad. But then, to think that you could actually, it's like you working at Compound Media. Opie will never talk to you again. You work for Anthony. I mean, he's the worst person to ever exist. Well, actually, now I guess Sam is the worst person to ever exist, is what Opie said recently. But
everybody's the worst person.
I know, it's great. Depending on the day of the week, it's either Jim or Sam or Roland. But it's funny that you would think that you would ever talk to Opie again. You won't. You took a job at Compound. That's it. It's done.
Well, that's the difference, though. I would.
Of course. Everybody else would.
He wrote me or something and said, hey, we need to talk about some things. And if he still wanted to be mad and yell or whatever, I'd still go and meet him and talk to him. Like, I tried even about almost a year later. I think we talked about it on Ant Show. I'll make this real quick because I know everybody wants to get back to the Todd stuff. But around October of 2018, somebody that listens to his podcast wrote me on Twitter and said, hey, Opie said he's going to be going to New York Comic Con at the Jacob Javits Center in Manhattan. You two should meet up and try to do a cross thing or whatever. Now, I do my show every year live from Comic Con for Sirius XM, now for iHeartRadio. And I was like, well, we're going to be there. And I sent him I responded to the tweet, tagged him. I said, what say you? Nothing happened. Didn't hear from him. Next day I wake up. My producer writes me. He goes, you should go look at Opie's Instagram story. Okay, why? He's like, well, he's shitting all over you. What did I do? So I go and I find the story, and he's all mad that I sent it in a tweet instead of, he's like, he has my number. He could have texted me. This is all, he could have personally asked me stuff. This is all bullshit to try to tie his name to my name and get some publicity. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Who wants to tie their name to Opie's name? That's not going to get you anywhere.
So I sent him a text. Finally, I said, I don't know what you're talking about here. I said, one of your listeners wrote me, said, you're going to be in the same place that I'm doing my show. I offered to either come on your show or you could come on my show, or we don't have to go on either show. We could just meet up and talk. That's all it was. And he got a little upset, saying that he wished I would have texted him instead of putting it out on Twitter. I don't understand what was so bad about that. That's all he's been doing is stuff on Twitter. He doesn't talk to anybody. And I wrote something very nice. I'm like, I'm for it. What do you say?
It's all an excuse because he doesn't want to have to confront any of this shit. He knows he was a total douchebag to everyone. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of gripes about how he treated them. He doesn't want to deal with it, so instead he just pretends that you handled it wrong. Well, Kate the cop reached out to me, but he did it the wrong time. And Erock wanted to do this thing, but he posted it on Twitter the wrong way. It's like, all right, stop it with all the fucking excuses, dude. Are you going to talk to these people or not? And you're not.
It was, look, I didn't even need to, but I felt like, you know what? It's been a year. Why not? I extended the olive branch. I was like, hey, you're going to be there. Let's talk. He just didn't want to do it. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to go chasing after a guy. None of us are. Like if he said, "Hey, look, we need to talk and settle and sort some things out," to anybody, I'm sure anybody from the show would say, "Okay," and then work something out privately where they would go and talk. But it's all down to him. You know, he doesn't want to do it, and that's fine. Everyone else is doing their own thing, and they've all moved on. And you know, best of luck to him. But if he wanted to, we'd be willing to. And that comes back to what you said with Keith. That's all Keith was doing. He's like, he saw Ope was in a bad spot, and what we thought was a bad spot, and said, hey, look, all this is going on. Maybe this is time for us to sit down and talk again and talk things out. And he took offense to it, and I'm sorry that he did.
He didn't. That's what I'm saying. He didn't take offense to it. He just doesn't want to deal with it. So instead he pretends that he's offended, and that's his way of not having to deal with it.
Well, you know, best of luck to him. I don't know what to say. The guy gave me a great opportunity. I can't shit on him for, you know, he did a lot for me.
Sure.
It sucks that it worked out this way.
I gotta say, I'm not sure what Keith thinks is gonna happen here. I understand that the Opie and Anthony brand, there's a lot of people who loved the Opie and Anthony show in many of its different iterations and would be excited about that. But at this point, Anthony's fan base is so different than Opie's small, shitty fan base. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that they would bring those two together again. Because Opie's tried to reinvent himself into almost like a Todd Pettengill kind of guy, like a nice guy show where, hey, we're all just friends and buddies and join the Pod Squad and we'll watch a Netflix movie together. Like, what the fuck is going on here? This is so off-brand. And if you think about what's going on at Compound Media, it's the exact opposite of that.
Look, they're not, nobody in that position enjoys conflict. Like on the air is one thing, but when it becomes real, they can't handle it or don't want to handle it and choose not to address it. And that's fine, but that seems to be what he did. It's like all this happened. He felt he did nothing wrong, and he decided to do a complete overhaul and go in this other direction where, you know, everything is, I hate the term safe space, but it's a safer, nicer area around him that he's building, and it's all about him. And more power to him. You know, good luck.
You get the point. The thing that cranked me up about that bit was the background noise.
Yeah, I was gonna say the sound effect up until the dog barking.
The dog barking was great.
Hearing the traffic and the cars in the back, I'm like, wow, that's pretty accurate. Okay, and then the dog's barking, and then the impression kind of just fell apart.
The impression's terrible. But Opie went to Mike Bichetti's house once, and you heard a dog bark for 20 minutes in a row on that episode. So it's pretty accurate.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Look, see, this is that goes back to the and then we got to move on to the Todd stuff. I'm sure your people don't want to hear any more of this.
Fuck them.
That goes back to the fact that, you know, the people who were responsible for talking and putting things together and having the right people around them were not the people who knew how to do recording or engineering or mic levels or any of that stuff. And that's exactly what he was doing. Where you're hearing all this, if you're hearing dog sounds constantly while you're still trying to plow through, it's bad enough when you see like a 3-second clip on the news where they try to get a witness reaction to something and there's a dog barking. But if you're doing 20 minutes of it, how do you listen to that?
And there was no substance at all. They were like walking up the stairs. He was introducing himself to Mike's mother. It's like you could take all of this out. It's super obnoxious.
Mike Saffo's house?
No, Mike Bichetti. And getting back to this thing where he does these prank phone calls, there's another one.
Phone scams.
The phone scam.
Which, by the way, I heard I was checking out some of your episodes before coming on here. You're using the bed now, I hear.
Oh, I use this one. Talk about that.
That one. So, all right, a little story behind that. So that would be the punch up. Todd loves to punch out on a joke, right?
Yep.
Or where he thinks he's got the high point of a conversation because it doesn't have anywhere else to go, which I've given you a couple of clips. You can do that a little bit later.
Sweet.
So when the phone scams would end, you would hear that bow. That was to let you know that the phone scam's over. And and they would recap what was going on there before hitting a jingle, going to break. So that bed was from an Ocean Spray commercial in the 90s. And in the late 90s, they were changing everything off of carts to digital. Now, carts look like 8-track tapes that you'd play in the studio. So they were throwing all of these out. I said, what are you doing with all of this stuff? Oh, we're just going to throw all this out. Can I take them? Like, yeah, sure. They were just going to throw them out. So I took boxes of carts back to my house, brought it to my college radio station, and dubbed everything off the cart. So now I have, or had, their entire production library for his sound effects, his clips, and all that stuff. So when we started doing Jocktober and the phone scams, and then we had that thing, I had somebody from PLJ write me. Some girl wrote me, and she goes, how do you have this stuff? We're going to send you a cease and desist and whatever. I said, good luck. And then we playing it. So then it became a joke where Norton even did his own phone scams, if you can find those one day, where he was doing the stupid voice, the stupid made-up names, and then it would be something so tragic that it was hilarious. Like, there was no joke to it. Right. He's calling somebody to tell them that their kid got hit by a UPS truck, and the mom would be screaming, what? And you hear, bow. And that's how the whole thing would end. Bow. Who do I hate that can't come on any show that I book anymore? Yeah, I don't know. Even the one you said is the obvious. If he said I would like to come on, whatever, I think I'd still be like, okay, come on, let's talk about this. Right. Because, one, that's fucking interesting to talk about, but two, then you can get your shots in and stuff needed. And it's like, hey, it's all for the guys of the show. That was your philosophy. Oh, it's all for the show. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? Asshole.
Yeah, Erock in the driver's seat. I like it.
Yeah. Well,
handing down judgments. You're all worked up now.
I was fine for the longest time, and then a clip came out recently. Anthony and Jim did a show. Jimmy showed up on Anthony's show the other day, and they were addressing another clip that came out from said individual. And somebody tweeted at me a different clip, and it was about me and what his actual problem is with me. And it's it's one of the stupidest fucking reasons that he's all bent out of shape, when he fucked up so many other things in that last 2 years, ever since Anthony left. Plenty of things that he fucked up and blamed everybody else for, or just couldn't look in the mirror and deal with it himself. And I'm like, and that's the thing that or at least that's what he's publicly saying, that got him all bent out of shape on me. And it's just, you get to the point of like, I can't. Like, I've ignored it too much, and now I'm going to have to address it. And
is it possible, you're not an MD, is it possible there's a level of mental illness there that, like, in a way that I sit at home and may conjure up some sort of weird theories, but once I'm set straight, I'm like, yeah, you're right, that's crazy. But this is his reality.
Yeah, I mean,
as far as he's concerned, here's all this shit.
You want to talk about the mental illness factor? Yeah, and for a while it did well by him to succeed by always failing upward, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then it got to the point where you don't course correct, and it's also your downfall, your undoing.
It is a weird kind of. I wonder. That whole, like, be nice to the people on the way up the ladder, you'll see them on the way down type thing. I see how that may affect some people like him. Mm-hmm. Like, going back and listening to all the old stuff. And again, always a very nice guy to me, like a very friendly guy, but very arrogant. Like, condescending and arrogant to everyone around him, just like the drawn out speech affect. Like, come on, this is great radio. Mm-hmm. I hate the term great radio. It's so irritating to hear.
Radio gold.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to say it. Everybody just knows it.
Be it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let it be.
Yeah,
it's gotta suck though.
But that's a normal mental condition that anybody has. When you have to point out the obvious or explain what's going on, means that it's not that. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're telling the joke, and when you tell a joke and then you have to explain the punchline, then you know it's not a good joke. Right. Sometimes, in rare occasions, it's like, oh, you don't know about what we're referencing, and you explain it. That's fine. But when you have to explain why a joke is funny after you just said it, it means that it was not